Hey, how's it going? This is Brandon Stewart. I'm going to walk through a couple ways that I'm using AI right now in a workflow. So this is May 2023. I'm sure it's going to change. AI is changing quickly now. But one way I use ChatGPT, and a couple ways I use CoPilot, which is inside VS Code that's put out by GitHub. There's definitely some simple ways that you could use it to work quicker. And one of the first ways, we'll start with the VS Code. When you move a task, and so we're about to update our application with this drag and drop. Everybody was expecting to drag and drop these cards, so we had to add it. You see this little toast pop up here, and there's a random emoji in there, and we totally don't need this feature, but I was like, we got to put this in there because it's cool. And so you could move a card, and then you see the emoji changed over here. Put this one over here. Emoji changed over here. So that's the feature. And how I used AI to do this, when we go in and you see the random emoji, and I forgot even what I did over. Yeah, so this was the section here, but let me show you the actual code where it did it. So this is using CoPilot inside GitHub, and when I typed in positive emoji list, it started to like populate the array with these suggestions. And it started with, because it knew that it was random, it started with a few of them, and I edited some of them and added some of them. And then before I even typed negative, it asked me if I wanted negative and if I wanted to use these. And then I added mind blown and face melt. What's a trip is that when you go to type the next one, it's like, you want neutral emojis? And I don't want to use it, but so that's useful because otherwise you'd have to type that out. And it's very simple in creating a variable and suggesting some stuff in an array. And the next place that I used it was, nope, here, where we go? Define this here. So yeah, this is the next place that I used CoPilot. And this was really, again, it's a very simple function, but with notifications, if you take a look at this, whenever this counter here is 99 or more, like in Gmail, it just says 99 plus. And that was the other way that I used CoPilot. So, but before I said that I wanted this, I just typed in get notification count, and it knew that the return was this to include it. I guess whatever library it's trained on, it's useful for that. So again, very simple, but that's one way that I use CoPilot in May 2023 to actually help with some syntax or a very simple function. It's definitely useful. And then the last way is how I use ChatGPT. So there's tags that are generated when someone signs up on the site. We generate a workflow for like a sample workflow for their tasks, and we generate some generic tags for them. And I was like, well, you know, what are like generic tags? And it gave them to me like this. And these seem to be like marketing or development operations, testing, complete. These seem like pretty good. So I was like, okay, we'll start there because the users are probably going to change their tags anyways. And then I was like, oh, can you remove the definition? And it handed me like this, and I was like, oh, exclude the hashtags, and it handed me. So otherwise, having to do this would definitely take a lot of time. And I went back to the code, and I needed to have them with the syntax. So if I go over to, there we go. So having to write all this would just be boring and time consuming, but you could ask ChatGPT. I got the list that I wanted after a couple questions, and then I was like, oh, put it in this format, and it spit this out in seconds, which is great because there's no way I could get all this in like 5 seconds. And then I just copy that and paste it into the code. And then now this generates the tags. And so that's 3 ways. It's definitely useful. And if it's for simple things and some like boring syntax stuff or some very simple function, it's definitely useful to use CoPilot in VS Code and ChatGPT in like a daily workflow. All right, cool. Thanks.